Hi, this is an Avalanche Institute video. It's a summary or overview of Module 5 of our Spring Climbing and Mountaineering course. We've already done videos on Module 1 and on Module 4, which was weather. So if you're watching them in order, be sure to go back and see Module 4 and before that Module 1. I'm Jim Frankenfield, also Snowman Jim. As I've mentioned in the other ones, there is an introductory video in our channel, not in this playlist, but in the channel. And you can learn more about my background there. I've run the Avalanche Center 29 years, and I'm the one behind this course. Before creating the online course, which is not a knee-jerk pandemic reaction, as many online courses now are, it was created long before that. But long before I created this, I also taught courses online, including a climbing course in the spring, which as far as I know is unique. I don't think anyone else offers something specific, just spring climbing and mountaineering. So let's go and get to it. Chapter 5. So here we are on Module 5. Most of this should look familiar from the recent videos. The description is the same thing that's mirrored in the public side of the Institute, so you can see that whether you're enrolled or not. We don't use announcements and agenda at this time. We have forums available in the module if there are enough students that want to use it. It's been lightly used so far, and we've had interaction directly with students by email, but we haven't seen a lot of use of forums yet. So let's go to the learning path. That's what we've been looking at, and we'll give you a quick tour of the module. As usual, there's an overview, there's a workbook introduction. And we're going to talk in this module about three things: the mountain snowpack, and the features of a mountain snowpack, and the layering, and the stresses on the layers. And there's one quiz, and that's it. And we talk about the properties and behaviors of snow. So we talk about creep and glide and settlement. And we talk about viscoelasticity. That's a big fancy term, and if you want to, you can get into graduate level mathematics and mechanics. Of course, we don't want to get into that. We just talk about the general, what that means in general and what it means for snow. But it is, snow does behave in a very interesting and complex manner, and we describe that in plain English. So don't be worried about the term viscoelastic. It certainly sounds technical, and it can be, but it's not in this course. We have metamorphism, and we review all the types briefly. So in winter, we talk more about equilibrium and kinetic metamorphism. But here in spring, we're going to focus on melt-freeze metamorphism. And we have some photos in there of what crystals look like. So this is what melt-freeze grains look like under a microscope or an electron microscope. We're going to talk about elevation and aspect impacts, various spring hazards, in addition to avalanches. And then we have another assessment. And our final section is on observations. So we want you to form a general observation with a big picture of snow stability, as opposed to stopping in the middle of a climb and digging a snow pit for detailed background on one point in space and time. It's going to change rapidly, especially in spring. So you need to form a general picture, and you really should do that before you go, which is why we're going to emphasize planning in the last module. Most climbing accidents really come down to poor planning. People should have understood what the snowpack was going to be like based on the weather, which they could have found out more about at home. And some human factors do play a role, and we'll get to that in the next section. So we're going to talk about general observations. When you are out there, you made a plan, you're going out there, what do you look for on your way to the trailhead? What do you look like? What do you look for on your way to the climb as you're traveling in the snow that might make you want to change your mind or change your turnaround time or other factors? So those are the observations. Then there's a final 3-question quiz. Actually, there's another quiz at the end. Before you get to the end, there's 2 case studies. So this module, we review 2 of our case studies that involved the recent wet snow conditions, recent snow or wet snow or some combination. There's a quick review and a final quiz. And then there's the usual review of the course where we get your feedback. And then at the very end, there is a link to, once you complete the module, you can download the entire workbook in as one file if you want to do that. So it'll display as one file, and you can download that or print it. We take excerpts in certain pages to use throughout the module. That may not be the best way for you to print it out. So at the end, you can print the whole thing out. So there you go. That's Module 5. That's everything you need to know about snow conditions in the spring. They follow pretty directly from weather, which you should have finished by now. When you know how the weather and snowpack can be anticipated, you can make a good plan. And then you can put together a team for the route or choose a route for the team. And that's the kind of thing we'll do in human factors. So the next video will be Module 7 on human factors. We've already mentioned in the Module 1 video the reason for no Module 2 and 3. Those are actually a separate course, but you are free to take that as part of this course. But they're not modules within this course. And we also talked about why we don't have a Module 6 on terrain. In Level 1, that would be terrain. But we already described and discussed why we don't have a dedicated terrain module. If you're climbing, you're pretty much in avalanche terrain, and you should know that. There were some factors introduced earlier, but we don't dedicate a module to it. So the next one will be 7. And maybe in 7, we'll explain why we don't have 8 and 9. Those are also modules in Level 1 that we don't include or use. Actually, I guess neither one really applies in the spring conditions and this course anyway. So that's material that you will see if you take Level 1. And even these modules, you won't see the same material. It's different. So the Snowpack 1 module, Snowpack 1 module might be similar, but it's not going to cover melt freeze. It's going to cover other things. And the weather module in Level 1 is much more extensive than what we do in when we limit it to spring. So there you go. That's Module 5. I hope you'll come back for Module 7. If you're in the course, hope you're enjoying it. If you're thinking about the course, I hope this helps you see what we cover and how it's covered. So bye. I'll see you in Chapter 7, Module 7.